Language Learning Series. Speak English confidently.
Have you ever thought that your English skill level is the only thing that determines how confidently you speak? Well, what if I told you that for most of us, that's just not true? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that real confidence in speaking English has almost nothing to do with your grammar and everything to do with your mindset. So let's get into it. So what is the secret? I've seen people with a pretty low level of English who are just incredible communicators. So clear, so charismatic. And then you see others with advanced skills who just freeze. That paradox is exactly what we're looking at today. It's not about how much English you know, it's all about how you use it.
Let me tell you about this guy, Fossil. He was a factory supervisor, and honestly, his English level was pretty low. But Fossil, he was an absolutely amazing communicator. He could just sit there, listen so calmly to anyone, and then express his own thoughts clearly and, well, beautifully. He wasn't worried about mistakes at all. He was focused on connecting. He's kind of our role model here.
To really get how Fazell does it, we first have to look at the mindset that holds so many of us back. Let's call it the piano player mindset. I want you to think back to being a kid, maybe dreading those piano lessons, right? All that pressure, that constant fear of hitting a wrong note. And this quote it nails the problem. For that piano student, success wasn't about the joy of making music. Nope. It was purely about avoiding mistakes. And that just creates this feeling of dread, of constantly being judged. Sound familiar? A lot of us bring that exact same feeling into our English conversations, and it turns a simple chat into some kind of high-stakes performance. So this piano player mindset is all about focusing on yourself. You're constantly worried, is this right? Did I say that correctly? You're terrified of being judged. And this leads to what they call a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start to believe, I'm a bad English speaker, and so you speak with fear, which, of course, completely tanks your ability to communicate. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the answer was found in a pretty surprising place, a kind of smelly, noisy cyber cafe. It's time to meet the total opposite of the piano player. It's time to embrace the video game mindset. I want you to picture this. There's a guy in a cyber cafe, and he is terrible at the game he's playing. His friends are all watching over his shoulder. But is he embarrassed? Not one bit. He's laughing, he's totally into it, and he's focused on just one thing, getting the bad guy. He's not thinking about himself or how he looks. He's thinking about his goal. And this right here is the fundamental shift. The piano player is focused inward on themselves, on being correct, on that fear of making a mistake. But the video game player, they're focused outward, on the goal, on the other person, on getting a result. Confident speakers like Faisal aren't trying to give a perfect performance. They're just trying to win the communication game. Okay, now let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. This next story from a pharmacy shows exactly how these two mindsets lead to completely different results, and it doesn't matter what your English level is.
So, a customer needs to buy an omega supplement, but they're totally confused by all the options. The first sales assistant, who has a high English level, she just panics. She's focused on herself, on trying to get the explanation perfect, so she speaks way too fast, goes in circles, and the customer is even more confused than before. Then, the second assistant steps in. Her English level is much lower, but she just focuses on the customer. She asks, EPA for heart, DHA for brain. Your heart okay or not? So simple, so direct, and it worked perfectly. She solved the problem.
So, why is this whole distinction so important, especially today? Well, it's because the role of English in the world has totally changed. It's not some exclusive club anymore, where only the quote-unquote perfect speakers get to come in. Get this fact. It's pretty staggering. 96% of all English conversations happening on the planet right now involve at least one non-native speaker. Only 4% are just between native speakers. You know what that means? The language doesn't belong to a select few anymore. It belongs to every single person who uses it. This is perfectly captured in a great story about some engineers at a barbecue. A French engineer is trying to explain to a Korean engineer that the hot dogs have cheese inside them, but he's just not getting through. So a Japanese engineer who's been listening, he turns to the Korean engineer and just says, integrato. And boom, everyone understands. English today is a playful, creative tool. It's like a video game you use to get a result. The real challenge is that our schools often teach us the wrong mindset. In school, it's all about correctness. You can understand a text perfectly, but still lose points for a tiny grammar mistake, right? But in the real world, what actually matters? Did you understand the customer? Did you get the job done? It's all about clarity over correctness. The problem is, we carry that school attitude with us into our adult lives. When you're in a stressful conversation, trying to be correct and get a result, your brain is multitasking and it just shuts down. But there is a very clear way to get your confidence back. Does any of this sound familiar? When you're all focused on yourself, the first thing to go is your ability to listen. You're too busy planning your perfect, correct response. Then your vocabulary just vanishes. All the words you know are suddenly gone. And then, finally, your confidence just plummets. It's this vicious cycle that so many of us know. So, here it is. This is the crucial takeaway, the one thing you can do to speak with confidence. When you're speaking, stop focusing on yourself. Shift all of your attention onto the other person and the outcome you want to get to, together. Make them your focus, not your own performance.
I mean, just imagine the possibilities. Imagine a world where the next generation isn't held back by this fear of making mistakes, but instead feels totally empowered to connect, to collaborate, and to solve problems using English as a tool, no matter what their level is.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. English is not some beautiful, untouchable piece of art that you have to master before you're even allowed to touch it. No, it's a tool. It's a practical, powerful tool that belongs to you. Now go out and use it.